Hello, and welcome to probably an unexpected but long anticipated bonus. It's normally the case that recording stuff like this gets pushed to one side because there's a real premium on my working time now. I mean, I used to have acres of free time, and I could fit in work whenever I wanted, but now I have an allotment of time, and I do like to focus on my projects where I can. And unfortunately, this means secondary stuff like bonus gets pushed to the wayside a little bit. But the good news is, I've recently finished the bow and arrow video. I've already made fairly good progress with the M60, so now that I'm feeling ahead of myself, I've allotted today to a few sort of ancillary tasks. One of which was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered. The M60, of course, is present in COD4, and I wanted to get some multiplayer footage. The only trouble is I have never played this online because I simply haven't had time for multiplayer games, and it's unlocked at level 19. So I had to grind out a few levels. 19's not too bad, but it took me about 3 hours. 2.5 maybe. I had some bad games which slowed me down. So anyway, yeah, I recorded some multiplayer gameplay footage this morning. Took up 3 hours of about 6-7 hours that I'll have today. And I thought, well, okay, I'll use that footage, do bonus with it, and then I also eventually unlocked the M60, recorded some footage with that. Everything's gravy. Got some nice footage now. So please enjoy the mediocre COD4 gameplay. Thank you very much. But as well as grinding out levels in this game for the M60, I've also decided to finally do a bonus, and I'm also going to record a vlog for my Patreon supporters tonight as well. So it's a whole day that hasn't really been spent working on the M60 video. It's been spent doing secondary stuff, which I don't like doing, but it's good to get stuff out of the way. So it has been a while. I checked the last bonus I uploaded on my birthday, the 5th of August. Isn't that a while ago? Luckily for me, though, nothing interesting or noteworthy has happened in the world since then. So there's no news, no current affairs, no politics, nothing worth talking about. So it's been a long time coming, but I'm going to take the old comments from the last bonus video, as I normally do. Of course, they're out of date, irrelevant, but, it doesn't really matter. It's fine. But the trouble is, whenever I upload now, because of my diminished schedule, and, everybody's like, oh my gosh, I thought he was dead. For instance, Meloetta Dramatic says, it's been at least 1 million years, Stu. Jordan X. Brooks says, he's still alive and well, smiley face. Similarly, Marinov, he's still alive and kicking, woohoo! And Shadow 0416 saying, welcome back, Stu. The comments on the main video are very similar as well, every time now. And I mean, the trouble is, the bow and arrow I severely underestimated the scope. It turns out the bow and arrow has been in quite a lot of games, and has quite a significant impact on culture. So there was a lot of stuff to record, and there was a lot of research and reading to be done as well, and it just took the time to put together. And couple that with the fact that I've had iffy availability over the last few months as well, it just drags out. The worst thing is, even if I do have a good run, and if I'm able to put this M60 video together relatively quickly, for instance, if I upload within a month of another video, all the comments are just, oh my gosh, that's so quick, Stu, wow, I can't believe it, wow. So I can't win either way. But the good news is that I do now have more free time available than I did a few months ago. My son is now in nursery, which means I get one glorious day a week where there's nothing to do, and it's quite wonderful. I'm thinking about stepping it up to 2 days later this year, that would just be ridiculous amounts of free time. I'd have 2 free days plus 3 days where my wife looks after him exclusively. That's a full working week, that is, right there. Imagine what I could do with that. White Guy says, so Stu, is a Duke Nukem or Unreal Tournament Retro Ahoy still in the planning board / room? I'd really like to hear what you think of Duke Nukem. Yes, Retro Ahoy is very much a priority to return to once I've done this season of Iconic Arms. I don't think I'm going to do series of Retro Ahoys. I think I'm going to do either clusters of 2 or 3 or one-offs. The original plan was to do these videos that were about 15-20 minutes long. You can see that kind of with the Half-Life video. But when I did the id trilogy, it turned out that to really do a satisfying job with Retro Ahoy, you need to go in-depth. You need to go long, which is why the Quake video, the Doom video, and to a certain extent the Wolfenstein video, they radically extended the format. Which means doing 6 videos like that in a row it's a bit of a Herculean task, and I don't fancy doing it. So, Retro High will return, and specifically Duke Nukem 3D, yes, I would love to cover, and Unreal as well. However, the next Retro High I do might not be an FPS. I do want to get a bit more variety now, and I don't just want to do Retro Highs on FPS games. So I'm considering other options. I can't say for sure what will be next, but I can tell you a couple of games that I'm considering. I think one of them is the original XCOM, UFO Enemy Unknown. That's always been a favourite game of mine, and, it'd be nice to revisit it and play all of the sequels. Apocalypse, I think, was a highlight for me. It didn't review as well, didn't perform as well as the originals, but I quite liked the real-time stuff. And the new games as well, XCOM, XCOM 2, I'm actually quite fond of them. They're not quite the same as the originals, but there's something about them I quite like. So yeah, that's certainly one franchise I'd like to look at, and I think that would be reasonably popular. And another one, I wanted to do... I don't know, I was thinking about doing Outrun, the arcade game. Just because it's a cool game, with driving Ferraris and cool 80s graphics. That's kind of the era I'd like to indulge in, I think. But I don't know, nothing is definite. KO says, I recently saw your Quake video, I'm very late I know, and I obviously loved it. I was wondering what your thoughts and expectations for the new game are. Quake Champions, I do believe it's called. It's interesting to see the Quake name being revived, but I don't know. I was never really big into Quake multiplayer, I always preferred the single player. So, I don't know, the prospect of a multiplayer only game doesn't thrill me. But it's interesting, and certainly, with my involvement in making the Quake video, it's piqued my interest, but, well, I think I'd rather go back to the Lovecraftian-esque world of Quake single-player, the Quake 1. That sort of grungy ethic, I think that would be quite nice. In a manner similar to the Doom reboot, maybe. But it will be interesting. I mean, the new Wolfenstein was received relatively well, the new Doom was received well. The new Quake, I don't know. I think there's more at stake here. Nitro Wills LFC says, question for wherever the next bonus is, are you excited for / will you be playing Mafia 3? I love this series myself. I actually bought Mafia 3 for the Thompson video, and it also has the M60 in as well, so I've been playing it recently. But it turns out the M60 is quite a late unlock, so I've been playing quite a lot of it recently. In fact, I completed it. Well, near as almost. So yeah, I kind of like Mafia 3. It's okay. I like a lot about it, but there's a lot of other stuff that I'm not so keen on. It suffers a little bit from what I would describe as Ubisoftication, if that were a word. Everything feels very padded out and quite formulaic. You do the same thing over and over again, which is a real shame because there are genuinely interesting bits, fantastic locations, interesting characters, and the gameplay itself is kind of rewarding. It's all right. Far from perfect, but it's not bad. AJ First 12 says, what's the baby's name? Ahoy Jr.? He's more of a toddler now, but I kind of keep the whole sort of family side confidential, I don't want to give away too many clues, because otherwise, people will track down my wife at work and ask her questions. Americ Soccer Club says, I've got a question for you, Stu. What do you think about the rising popularity of YouTube drama, and all of these drama channels popping up, reporting YouTube news? I've got to admit, I haven't really been keeping up with YouTube drama. I'm familiar with Drama Alert. They've been going a while. They've gone through a few channels in their time, but they seem to have settled on one now. And they've got, 1.7 million subscribers, which is... that's not a small number. I'm looking at the content, and I'm seeing names that I recognise, and I'm seeing a lot of big red thumbnails and a lot of capital letters. But, I don't know, I'm just thinking a lot of this so-called drama is it's not really all that interesting. It's, somebody said this, oh my gosh, somebody said that. And, let's read some of these. Helping the homeless, Trap Nation, Our Mine, #drama. What does that even mean? I don't understand what that means. $15,000 chargeback, phase sensor, Zoe Berger banned. Alright, I don't know who those people are. Ricegum has a ghostwriter. Hashtag drama alert. Phase Rain versus... Who are these people? Daz cut his thumb up. Porn on YouTube. Hashtag drama alert. I just don't care. Is there anybody I know? Who is Zoe Berger? Who's Phase Rain? I'm sure they are real people with channels, and I'm sure they're very successful and popular and nice, but I haven't heard of them, you know? KSI. Oh, I know KSI. KSI is a dad, question mark? Well, either he is or he isn't. PewDiePie. I know PewDiePie, yeah. A 34-year-old man literally quits for the 87th time. Hey, that could be me. Not me, is it? But generally, yeah, not really that interested. Sometimes I hear about something juicy involving people that I'm aware of, and I think, ooh, what's this getting? And then it always turns out to be actually quite dull. Joshua Torres says, hey Stu, what are your opinions on the 3 biggest FPS titles coming at the end of the year? Titanfall 2, COD Infinite Warfare, Battlefield 1. And which game would you possibly do a weapon guide on? I'm kind of over the whole weapon guide thing, gotta be honest. The thing I enjoy doing most now on YouTube are really kind of one-off specials. That's what I like doing, you know, not being confined into doing a series of stuff, not being confined into a particular format, just having something free and, you know, a chance to express myself. If it involves cool graphics and music, then all the better. That's the sort of thing I like. So weapon guides are unlikely to be a priority anytime soon. But I have played these games. Well, actually, I don't think I've played Infinite Warfare, come to think of it. I do own it. I had to buy it to get access to Modern Warfare Remastered, but I haven't touched the actual Infinite Warfare because not really interested, to be honest. So I can't comment on its quality. I understand the campaign is supposed to be reasonably good, and I probably will play it at some point. But other stuff to do first, eh? Titanfall 2. I have played the campaign for that, and I didn't quite enjoy it. As far as multiplayer on Titanfall 2 is concerned, though, I haven't really had much of a chance to play. Battlefield 1. I have played the campaign for that as well. Quite enjoyed it, not nearly as much as Titanfall 2, though. Still, you know, pretty good. And I have played a small amount of its multiplayer. It's alright, yeah. It's okay. It's better than Hardline was. And yeah, no, I quite enjoyed it. I don't really play it anymore, though. The spell I had where I'd have a couple of hours after baby's bedtime where I could, you know, play whatever I wanted. And I played some multiplayer then, but I've kind of fallen out of that habit. More recently, I've been playing Mafia 3, for instance, in order to unlock the M60. So of the 3, my favourite's Titanfall 2, probably. I do like Titanfall's formula. I'm not huge on science fiction shooters. I do like my real guns. I mean, I sorely missed the MP5 from COD4, for instance. But I can forgive Titanfall because it's got cool robots and it's got wall running and yeah, it's just cool. The Radio Box says, Stu, what is your most anticipated game of the rest of the year? I'm going to take that to mean 2017. And second question, you weren't here for a while, so I'm asking too, what is your favourite movie? Do you know, I don't have much on my horizon for 2017. There's the yearly Forza installment, which I will be buying because I like Forza. But I'm not really excited for that. It's, it's going to be fun. It's going to be cars, going to be driving, going to be all right. Fine. But apart from that, the only other game that's tickled my fancy that's been announced is Dirt 4, which I think is coming in, is it April or is it a little bit after? I don't know. It's quite soon anyway. I quite like, I loved Dirt Rally. I loved Dirt 2, and Dirt 3 was pretty okay too. So, yeah, I would enjoy Dirt 4, I think. I'm going to look forward to that, I think. I think it's safe. Apart from that, though, I don't know. What else is coming out? I've not really been keeping track of stuff that's on the horizon. It normally just turns up and surprises me. Oh, Mass Effect Andromeda. That's kind of a big one, isn't it? Might be good. I liked Mass Effect 3's multiplayer, so if they can incorporate that into a story-led science fiction thingamabob, it might be alright. I don't know, though. I might try it. If it reviews okay and people say, oh yeah, it's pretty good, or if there's a decent... I don't know. Yeah, I probably will buy that at some point. I can't think of anything else that's coming, though. It'll probably just blindside me, catch me by surprise. Anyway, second question. What's my favourite movie? This is kind of a tough one. I've been watching quite a lot of films recently. I've been on a bit of an 80s action kick. Rambo, that sort of thing. I am rather partial to Predator. I'm not going to lie, I do like a good Arnie film. But I wouldn't hold it aloft as an example of great classic filmmaking. It's a fantastic action film, but I don't know. I'm hesitant to name one film as my favourite. I watched Children of Men the other night. That was okay. It's a little bit heavy-handed in places, but, yeah. It was interesting enough, and the long takes are nice. But I refuse to pin down my preference to a single film. Because, well, I like more than one film. Kevin Murray says, do you play any instruments? I'd love to know. My most proficient instrument is probably the computer when it comes to music. I'm very much into my synthesizers and sequencers. As far as conventional instruments go, I'm not really a player or performer. I can kind of hit notes and stuff, but I'm not really a performance artist. I'm, like I say, I'm a production artist, which is rather different. But I did recently buy myself an instrument, quite a nice one actually. I got a synthesizer. It's the Nord Lead A1, which is a fantastic instrument in a nice red steel case. It's a bit of an indulgence for my love of synthesizers, I've got to admit, but I also have a project earmarked for it. Because I find writing music quite difficult, but it's also quite rewarding. So I do quite like doing my own soundtracks. And that's something I'll be doing for the project that's following Iconic Arms. I'm going to do... I don't know exactly what it's going to be like. I don't know. That's part of the creative process, is discovering what things are like. But I do know the instrument I'll be using. It's the Nord, and it's got some fantastic, pure synthetic, but lovely ambient noises which it can generate. So, hopefully it'll have like a nice, clean, polished, but almost retro-sounding feel to it. And, I don't know. We'll see. Roger Toledo says, are you excited for the new Forza Horizon? And what are you mostly excited about? I was excited, and, well, I don't think excited is the right way to describe it post-launch, but I definitely got my money's worth out of Forza. It's kind of difficult to explain why I like the series so much, because on the surface, it's doing the same thing over and over again, driving round and round, or point to point, or whatever. But, that's kind of its purpose, really. It's kind of a time waster. It's just something I can play that isn't... It's not particularly stressful, it's not particularly rewarding, but it's, it's mild. It's just, it's a way to relax, I guess. And all the while, I get to drive some cool cars, see some cool locations, drift around some cool corners, and I obviously I get something out of it, otherwise I wouldn't play it. Nigel Brooks says, belated happy birthday, Stu, very belated now. The question may seem a little bit political, but what are your thoughts on Britain leaving the EU, and has it affected you yet? I'm actually rather fond of Europe, and I like the ability, to have visa-less travel between members of the EU. That was nice. I think, I don't know, obviously it's not a perfect institution, and obviously I do think there were grounds for renovation of the EU. I don't know exactly what those steps would be. Maybe it isn't repairable. Who knows? It doesn't really matter now because, we're headed out. But I don't see this as, like an absolute terminus. I see this as, over the course of the next 20 years, this is really a renegotiation of Britain's relationship with the EU. Europe will still exist, Britain will still exist, and there'll be intercommunication, travel, trade, and all the usual stuff that we're accustomed to. It's just it'll be under different terms which we aren't yet privy to. Which is potentially quite scary. I don't know, I don't really want to go off on a major political tangent. I will say that I voted Remain, but I have benefited from, not Brexit, but the referendum result and the precursor to Brexit, in that the value of the pound has dropped. And since I get paid in dollars, it's like I've had a significant pay rise, which, I'm not going to lie, is pretty nice. It sucks for everybody else on the island, but that's capitalism for you. You can't have success without somebody else's suffering. And that's not a condemnation, that's just a statement of fact. Anyway, that's 20 minutes, and that's time for me to cook some tea, I think. Meanwhile, set this rendering, eat tea, put baby to bed, upload this, tidy office, record vlog, do the same for that. Job done. There we go. Relatively productive Monday, even if I did spend 4 hours playing Call of Duty. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.